Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome. We are your hosts, Josefa Kapadia and Jasper Rivers.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad. Today I am here with Dave Dolce. Dave is from Los Angeles and has been a Airbnb host for a while, and does some other pretty cool stuff in life as well. So I'm excited to welcome him to the show. Welcome, Dave. How are you doing?
Hi, Jasper. How are you? Nice to talk to you.
Good. So Dave, could you give us a bit of a background of yourself? Who is Dave Dolce?
I am 35 years old. I'm an entrepreneur. I was born and raised here in Beverly Hills, California. And, I like to, get my hand into a lot of different businesses. But my main business that I've had since I was a kid is a women's fashion business. Mm-hmm. And I also work a little bit in technology, doing search engine optimization and other things. And, I found about Airbnb because I love traveling. Mm-hmm. And I stayed in Airbnb the first time about a year ago, instead of going to the Cosmo or Encore in Vegas, mm-hmm. and paying, $300-$400 for like a little tiny studio. I got a 2-bedroom a couple blocks away from the Strip in Las Vegas. And we had a pool and everything. And then I said, you know what? I really like this Airbnb thing. It seems pretty cool.
Yeah, especially in Vegas, it's great value, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the prices you can get in Vegas are amazing, because real estate is low there, is generally low, but hotels are extremely high.
Right.
So you can get some amazing. Like, I'm actually going to go to Vegas for New Year's, and I'm going to get a 3-bedroom for probably really nice one for maybe like $300-$400 a night. Mm-hmm. And if you want to get a 2-bedroom connecting suite, forget about 3-bedroom. If you just want to get a 2-bedroom connecting suite at the Wynn or at Encore or one of those hotels, it's like $5,000 a night.
I know, it's insane. I know it's ridiculous. Like me and Josefa, we were actually down in Vegas last summer, and we rented this awesome mansion. It had 6 bedrooms, and it was so luxurious. It had a game room, and it had all these different like rooms with TVs and couches to chill.
Nice.
And
where is this at? And where?
This was in sort of southwest of the Strip.
Okay, cool.
It was
Vegas.
Like it was a 15-minute drive.
Okay.
Not too bad. Because
and you got how many bedroom? 5-bedroom?
Six bedrooms, and
that's wild.
We ended up paying $1,000 per person per month.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm talking about a mansion, very luxurious, big bedrooms, nice comfortable beds,
my God,
including utilities. So I was thinking that's $30 a night.
Yeah,
and just like you're saying, a room in a decent hotel, puts you back like $150-$200.
Oh yeah, and then they get that's not even the worst part. The worst part is then they want to charge you like $30 for Wi-Fi, exactly, and then they want to charge you $40 for what they call the resort fee, for the privilege of using their pool and their gym.
I know,
it's a joke. So really, like. Yeah, the worst part with these hotels is that when you go and you look at their price of like $200, $300 a night, it doesn't include half of what they're going to charge you. They're going to charge you $40 for Wi-Fi, $20 to $40 for the resort fee. The privilege of using Wi-Fi and their pool and their gym. then they charge you if you want to park. God forbid you have a car, it's like $40 a night to park. So it's just really
right.
ridiculous, out of hand.
And then also, when you have a house or an apartment, you can prepare your own food. If you're staying in one of those hotels, like the restaurants are so overpriced as well.
Oh yeah.
It's insane. Like you easily $50-$75 for just a pretty standard meal.
Yeah.
So
it's ridiculous.
If you go to Vegas, Airbnb is definitely great great value. So let's talk about your Airbnb listing.
All right.
When did you start, and what made you consider hosting in the first place?
I have a business where it's a fashion related business, and I have clients that come from out of town to work here. Work for me. I have models and photographers who come here for 1 month, 2 months at a time, sometimes a couple weeks at a time. And if they're working directly for me, I would usually get them a hotel. That's how it started. And then I started getting them corporate housing, doing like that type of stuff. Going through. There's companies out there where they will let you rent out for a week at a time for corporations, and then I saw that was even way too much. So then when I discovered Airbnb, I started having the people come into an apartment that I rented out, and I would pay for the apartment. I started renting the apartment, getting like a 1-year lease, and having my corporate executives come to the apartment. And then when they weren't there, I would rent it out on Airbnb, and that's when I really discovered the potential of Airbnb.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
So it started with me, and I still do that. It started with me bringing corporate people over to an apartment that I got specifically for them, where they weren't paying me or anything like that. And then I said, well, what do I do with the other 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 days per month where nobody is there? Right. And then I said, you know what? I loved Airbnb, going to Vegas and going to these other places. Why don't I try it on this apartment? And I read your book. I listened to your great audio. Actually, I listened to your audiobook on the way to Vegas, driving to Vegas.
Oh, cool.
And it was a perfect time because it took about 3.5 hours.
You must have been driving pretty fast then if you did it in 3.5 hours.
Well, coming from LA, you're used to it. From LA to Vegas is like going to the grocery store for other people. Right. It's down the street. But I listened to it, and I got a lot of tips from you, and I looked at your blog and some other things that you have there, and that's when I really started getting into it. But it's kind of fresh. It's only been a couple months. Right.
Okay, cool. I see you already have 10 reviews, and they're all 5 stars, it seems. So it seems like you're doing a pretty good job.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I see that the number one thing, really, from the information that I've gathered, is reviews. So I'm just really big on that. I'm constantly talking to the guests and asking them, if I can get them anything, if how their stay is going and all that, and then after you do that and you have even the perfect experience, then you have to hunt them down and beg for the review too.
Yeah, because sometimes people, they're on holiday and they're having fun and stuff, and they get back home, they get back to work, they get back into their schedule, and they forget about it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or they think that it's not a big deal. It's kind of like when they think it's like when you call Bank of America, and then you hang up the phone, and then you get an email that says how was our customer service, and you just delete it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But they don't understand that reviews mean everything to us. If 2 or 3 people give me a 4-star review, it'll mess up my Superhost status. It'll lower everything, my position, my ranking, the number of sales that will come in, everything will get messed up.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's very true. Your place looks pretty pretty good, man. I see
Oh,
you
thank
have
you.
like an awesome pool and it looks very luxurious. Where is it? Downtown LA?
Yeah, it's in downtown LA next to the Staples Center and where the Lakers and the Clippers play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great location. It's really all about the location. You can walk, you don't do a lot of walking in LA, but here you can walk to all the top sites and attractions.
Okay.
So that's what's so great about it.
You have a sauna in your building? Is that right?
Yeah, there's a sauna in the building and in the gym.
Right, yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah. And there's tennis, basketball, the whole deal.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking at maybe I want to get one other listing in the area that maybe does not have all these amenities,
Mm-hmm.
but that my rent is much lower.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of even get your thoughts on that, because I'm getting some good people coming in now, but my rent is pretty high.
Uh-huh.
So I'm wondering, what if I went into an apartment that didn't have 3 swimming pools, or it just had maybe 1 swimming pool, no tennis court, maybe not even a gym, but it was a great location and a good sized room,
Mm-hmm.
and I can put it in a little bit lower than what I'm putting this one, but then my rent would be tremendously lower.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's it's cool to have the pool and the sauna and everything, but it depends a little bit on what type of people stay at your place, right? For example, for me in Amsterdam, 95% of the people who stay in my house are tourists, and they come down for 2, 3, maybe 4 days.
Yeah.
So what they want to do is they want to go out and see all the highlights and go to all the museums and see the canals and all the stuff that Amsterdam has to offer. They're not going to stay at home and
smoke some marijuana.
maybe smoke some marijuana, but they don't want to hang out at my house. So and it depends. I don't know what type of people visit your area. If it's more business, then people may really enjoy the sauna and the pool, just to sort of unwind after a day of working.
Yeah, I'm trying to really find out and ascertain what it is. I think right now it's a mix of during the week it's more business people,
Mm-hmm.
and then but I also have some college student age people in the area who are there, because we have colleges in the area and parents of college students, and then we have people that come specifically for the convention center and the basketball games and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to I survey them and I get their email addresses, and I actually use your those responses that you have in your ebook on how to respond to inquiries to people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really, really good one, actually. The one where you after the booking, I send a response that says, thank you for the booking. I'm going to email you a complete manual, a local guide, all this sort of stuff, and then I can get their email address and save it. And then I email them, after their stay. I say, how was it? Did you come here for business? All that stuff, even before the stay.
Yeah. It's really good to just provide people with a lot of information as soon as possible, because a lot of people also like to look forward to their trip, right? I mean, it's kind of half the fun. So I've noticed that as well, that people are very, very appreciative of all the information that's in my guide. And then also, you're right about it's also good to ask people what they're going to do, And in my case, it's pretty obvious, because everyone's coming for the tourist attractions in Amsterdam. But if you understand your guests better, if you know why they're coming down and what they want to do and what type of people they are, then you can you can offer them a better hosting experience as well.
Exactly. Do you coordinate your cleanings with your housekeeper? on Airbnb, does she look at your listings, or do you have to tell her every time somebody is checking out to go clean the room?
No, what I do is I literally make screenshots of my reservations page with my phone, and I use a messaging system. It's called WhatsApp. And I literally just take a picture of the reservation page and just send her that picture, every other week or so. And that has all the information. It has the phone number. It has the check-in dates. That's all she needs to know, really. And then the only other thing I have to tell her is the time that people will arrive at the apartment.
Okay, I see.
And
so but people can check in anytime they want with you, right?
Yeah.
It's not a person. It's not your maid doesn't have to be there, does she?
No. Well, basically, what my cleaning lady does is I tell her the time that the people are gonna arrive, and then what she will do is she'll show up, like 2 hours in advance or so. She'll clean the apartment, and then she'll check the people in at the same time.
Oh, so she will physically check them in. Okay,
exactly.
Good.
Yeah. Because I think it's good to have somebody at the apartment when the guests arrive. I mean, I think you can still manage. You can still manage like the check-in without somebody being there by using a key box or electronic lock or something like that. But the thing is, in the end, people choose Airbnb mostly for the personal experience, like you're staying with a local, with somebody who knows about the neighborhood, somebody who knows the cool things and the local secrets. That's why people stay in Airbnbs instead of hotels, right? So to me, it's kind of silly to do Airbnb and then make it completely impersonal.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's and also it's a lot easier to get reviews and feedback when you actually see the person face to face. When you're just corresponding with them, it's much harder for them. Like they don't feel obligated to give you a good review.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's about you build a relationship with your guests, right?
Yeah.
And if you show your guests that you're putting in the effort to make sure that they have a good experience, regardless of what the situation is. Like, for example, for me, I'm usually away, so I have somebody else welcoming them, but I always make sure to communicate with them a lot and always tell them, like, listen, although I'm on the other side of the planet, I'm still available. If there's anything you need, I will arrange it. I'll make reservations at restaurants or do whatever they need. And then if something does go wrong, they'll forgive you, because they know you're a good guy and you're trying to do your best.
Do you feel that after paying your the rent, or no, you bought the place, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so with your mortgage and the housekeeper and all the other expenses, do you feel that it's worth it? Or, you're getting like a good profit, or what? Or do you are? So it's really worth it. Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean, I used to rent out long term, and now I'm making 2.5 times as much.
Yeah, because I have another property. I have a property in West Hollywood, and it's my house actually that I used to live in, and I moved out of it and I rented. I'm renting it to a 1-year lease to somebody, and what that person is actually doing is Airbnb.
Oh wow!
And I allowed him to do it. That's another way I got into this business, or I learned about this.
Yeah,
and he's doing Airbnb, but he's paying me my monthly rental and whatever it is every month,
so
and then he's doing.
How much is he paying you?
He's paying me about 400.
7,400.
Yeah.
Okay, and how big is the place?
And the place is a 5-bedroom.
Oh wow, fair. Well,
5-bedroom house.
If you look at this listing, you can see how much he's making per night.
Yeah. Well, but I don't know how what his occupancy rate is. I'm trying to. But anyway, he
But you can
says
look
that.
you can look at the calendar and see
Yeah.
what's available in the next few weeks and so.
But when I look at the calendar, it shows that it's available except for like a couple like weekends here and there. But I know that he must be getting like a lot of like last minute bookings, because or else he would not be able to break even by just having it booked out on like Friday through Sunday,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, there's several ways to do Airbnb. You can do Airbnb and only have 20-30% of the time you're booked, right? I mean, it's the reason why I wanted to write this book is because I saw so many hosts who weren't doing it right, and then it's kind of a waste, because you can get so much more out of it if you do it right. Now you were smart, and obviously you read the book or you listened to it, so that's why you're doing well. But a lot of people, they just put a listing up and then they just sit back and see what happens. And obviously, if you're gonna have that approach, then you're not gonna get very far. So I don't know how good of a job this guy is doing. I'm just what I do know is that typically, from what I've seen, and I've seen quite a lot of listings, and I've talked to a lot of people who are renting out, on Airbnb and who used to rent out long term, and it seems to be the case that if you are in an area in a city that gets frequented reasonably often by like tourists and business people, you should be able to make at least double of what you're making renting out long term.
Yeah. So that's
West
what
Hollywood is a great area.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean it's a great area, but it was very difficult for me to find a good tenant. Long-term tenant.
Yeah.
But that's why I rented it out to him. But I am looking at it right now, and I am very strongly considering doing the Airbnb myself on the house after the lease is up.
Oh yeah.
Considering considering that on the house, I would, the check-in would be a lot easier because there's no security to go through. There's no, the parking is right there in the driveway. It's a much easier situation than some of these big, high security apartment buildings in downtown.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's you already have a listing, so adding one more listing is not going to double the work, and you already know how to do everything. So
exactly.
I would totally go for it.
It would just be about making sure that I don't mess up my ratings and my superhost status by offering because now. With the house, it would be you'd have to let 10, 11 people in there, and it's a lot more to make sure that you get right, because there's more you have to be more prepared and do more things than just like a small little one bedroom.
That's true. Yeah, it's a different type of you're managing different type of groups. You have 5 bedrooms. You're going to get big groups. And it's definitely takes a little bit of a different stance, I guess. But I mean, I'm sure you can manage it. But what is your experience with your guests so far at your place?
So far, it's been good. Nobody has broken anything or stolen anything. Actually, like the only time somebody broke something was. I have another a condo that I actually live in myself, and I rented it out just once to somebody, and it was just one. And he was a very nice guy, but he broke my lamp, but it was through Flipkey. Okay. I found him through Flipkey, through Travel Advisor.
Yeah, and
there was a deposit there, but he was a very nice guy, and he admitted that he broke the lamp. So I had to take the lamp out of his Flipkey deposit, and also he was smoked in the apartment. But I kind of let that go. But but through Airbnb, I haven't had any problems so far with my guests. A couple situations though is one thing that I'm seeing with guests is that 80% of them, 80 to 90% cannot make the 3 p.m. check-in time.
Right.
So they either want to check in at 5, 6, 7. Some of them checked in at 11 p.m. And a lot of them think that you're waiting for their arrival, like hand and on your knees, just waiting for them to show up. And they I had a guest there. I scheduled their check-in at 10 p.m. And the guest showed up at 8 p.m. and I was in a movie theater. And I had turned off my phone. I turn on my phone and I see I have like 9 missed calls and like 4 voicemails.
Right.
And the guest is like, "Where are you? We're here. We've been waiting for an hour and a half." and I called them back. I said, "Your check-in is at 10. It's 9:30 right now." They said, "Yeah, we came early." So I went in. I checked them in, but I devised now a lockbox system.
Okay.
I did a lockbox system because I don't have somebody. I don't have like a minimum stay, so I get a lot of like one-night stays. And I don't have somebody that I can depend on right now that's gonna go and rush over there and check these guests in and everything. So if a guest does want to check in at 3 p.m. the check-in time, I'll go myself to do the in-person thing, so to get the good review. But other than that, if they want a late checkout time or a weird time, then I will have them do the lockbox.
Right.
But you do get a check. If you do in-person stuff, it's a real hassle on your time and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's one of the more challenging things, and I think people, especially people who are new to Airbnb, they're used to checking into hotels, where you can kind of show up at whatever time. So even if, you're planning to check in at 10, checking in a hotel at 8 doesn't really matter, right? So I think a lot of the new people, they don't actually realize that somebody's going to be, either waiting or somebody is expecting you to actually arrive on that time, and it's very inconvenient for the host to, if you show up either late or early.
You got to tell them in advance. Like I changed it to, I said, what time do you want to make your appointment? And then I give them the times. Like I have 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 7 p.m. And then I say like the window is 45 minutes. So if you're 45 minutes late, then we're going to have to do it another time. But then I just changed it to the lockbox. Yeah.
The lockbox is a pretty good solution for that, I guess. So because then the guests at least they can get in, so they don't have to wait on the street. But I think it's I think one of the things that Airbnb is looking to improve in the next year, and this was communicated at the Airbnb Open in San Francisco just last week. One of the things that they're looking to do is to educate the guests more, to let them know that Airbnb is not a hotel, and that they can't treat it like that. They have to understand that there's an actual person on the other side who also has a life, right, outside of Airbnb. So they can't just like show up at like whatever random time, and they can't expect us always to the sort of like copy 5-star hotel experience.
Exactly. So there's no 24-hour like concierge or security guy just waiting to check you in.
Yeah, exactly. And also to give you another example, this is something that happened to me back in Amsterdam. Fortunately, I was in town at the time, but there's this group of girls. They went out, and I think they probably drank quite a bit. But they got back to the apartment, and they didn't manage to open the door.
Yeah.
So then they checked into a hotel, and they called me, but this is like 3 a.m. or something. I was sleeping. So next day, I meet them, and I take their key and I open the door. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the lock, right?
Yeah.
But
they're just too drunk.
Yeah, but in their world, their perception is that the lock didn't work, right? So they're saying, well, we had to spend the night in a hotel, so because your lock didn't work, and so they wanted to have a refund on that. So, my stance in that situation is always to accommodate the guest. But in this situation, I ended up just refunding them for half of the hotel cost or something, because they kind of realized that it wasn't really my fault. But still, I want to make the guest happy, and
yeah, you have to, because you can save the whatever. You can just not refund them anything, and then it'll mess up. They'll write you like a 0-star review.
Yeah,
and that'll be that's worth like $5,000 of fewer sales,
future bookings, right?
One thing I found out today, actually, with Airbnb that I didn't know of, is that when they say that you got to get 80% of your bookings to be 5-star reviews, 80% of your reviews have to be 5-star reviews.
Yep.
To be a superhost.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was 80% of your reviews, but it's not. It's 80% of your total bookings.
So if somebody doesn't leave a review,
it brings you down. Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right, yeah. And I told them, I said, let me get this straight. If I have an 80% 5-star review right now, and my next guest had a fantastic time, it was the best experience ever, but they just didn't leave a review, then I go back down. I go down to lower. I go like to 75%, and I'm not a superhost status anymore. And they basically said, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. So, that's shocking.
So it's very shocking, and it's something that they are not making clear, but it's extremely important for hosts to know that if your guest doesn't leave you a review, they count that as a negative on you on Airbnb.
Wow. I'm gonna
talk
to some people at Airbnb, because that's crazy.
Yeah, I have the email right here, and I asked them to clarify it twice for me. Wow. And I can even read you the email. But
that's interesting. I'm kind of shocked, because that makes it really, really hard, especially if you're not meeting your guests in person. Because basically, if you have 10 people visiting and 10 different bookings, 10 guests, and then 3 people don't leave a review for some reason, then even if the other 7 are like 5-star, brilliant, then you're still not there.
Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's not having a response should not be a negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm looking at it. It says 80% of guests must leave a 5-star review. Not 80% of reviews must be 5-star.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow up on that, because if that's the case, then basically the hosts have to be way more aggressive, convincing their guests to leave a review for them.
Yeah. And also a lot of guests, they're used to reviewing hotels and things like that. So they think that, a 4-star is still good.
Right.
Right? They say, 4-star is 4 out of 5 is perfect, and nobody's perfect, so I'm going to write a 4-star. And they don't understand the review process. And Airbnb has to do a much better job. Also, they want to educate the guests about their experience. They should also educate the guests about what reviews mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a 4-star review for a host is not good. It doesn't mean that they were an A, 4 out of 5, or a B. A 4-star review is basically like a C or a D.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you don't have 5-star, you're downgraded in the search, and when people look at you, they they have a lower opinion of you, and it removes your superhost status.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was under the impression that it was 80% of the people who actually leave a review have to leave a 5-star review. But
I think mostly everybody is under that impression.
Yeah, because
I think everybody's under that impression. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I looked at my thing. I had 10 reviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my rating was at 78%. And I said, how does that make sense? If I have 10 reviews, how can my 5 stars be at 70? It's either going to be 80%, 90%, or 100%.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And
then I realized that no, they're basing it on 13 total reservations.
Ah, I see. Okay. So you had 13 reservations in total.
Yeah.
And then you had 10 5-star reviews.
I had 13 reservations. I had I believe 8 5-star reviews, 8 or 9 5-star reviews, and then I had 3 or 4 people who didn't leave reviews.
Okay.
So I had maybe like 1 4-star, 8 5 stars, and then the rest didn't leave reviews, and then that lowered me down to 77%.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because 10 divided by 13 is 77. So it must have been that you had 10 5-star out of 13 reservations. But it's anyhow, it's a really it's a really good point. Yeah. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of listeners who are kind of jumping off their chair right now as well, thinking like, oh, that's why my percentage is lower than expected.
Oh yeah,
great. Well, thanks for figuring that out. That's very useful. We've already been talking for almost 40 minutes, so we're gonna round up this chat. Is there anything else you wanted to say or bring up about Airbnb?
Just you mean for hosts?
Advice for our listeners, or any thoughts that you have or whatsoever?
Just for to listeners, just know that when you call the Airbnb customer service line, the people on the line, like if there's something wrong with your account, or it's on hold, or whatever it is, there's a technical issue, the people on the phone have zero power. The people on the phone cannot fix anything. They cannot restore your account or tell you anything. They're just all they are is they're messengers. They're messengers and they're secretaries, and they take down the information and they apologize, and then they send it over to through email through the technical team or the accounts team in Airbnb, and then it takes them a while. It takes them usually average of like 3 or 4 days to resolve your situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my advice would be to as soon as there's a problem, call or email as soon as possible, and don't really expect any type of resolution for at least a week.
Mm-hmm.
If you upload photos, if when they come and they take photos of your place, don't expect the photos to be uploaded for at least another 3 weeks.
Right, and this is another thing that they are working on right now, and that they announced at the Airbnb Open. They've actually hired another 600 customer service representatives, and they promised to do a much better job with the customer service, because there were a lot of complaints about this. Even at the Airbnb Open, they were gathering feedback from hosts, and I think this was probably the number one complaint that people have, was that the customer service wasn't good. And I think this is also a consequence of their success, right? Because Airbnb is growing so fast that it must actually be hard to find all the staff to hire, to keep up with the growth and stuff. So anyway. They hired a lady to be in charge of this, and she set some pretty pretty ambitious goals for customer service, where I think 80% of the calls have to be answered within 90 seconds, I believe. And some other measurements that they're striving for. So hopefully that will improve in the future.
Okay, good.
Anyway, Dave, thank you so much for your time. If people want to check you out, do you want to put in any resources or any websites or businesses or whatsoever where people can find you?
Just on Airbnb. Are you gonna? I think you're gonna give them the link.
Yeah, I'll put in the link to your listing.
I'll put in the link. So. If you're in the Los Angeles area, downtown Los Angeles area, close to businesses and the Staples Center, everything, the convention center, all the clubs, parties, restaurants. Top attractions in town, you can come check it out. And if you are, if you mention that you heard me here with Jasper, then I'll give you a discount.
Awesome. So everybody, take advantage of that generous offer. If you're going to LA, make sure to check out the show notes of this podcast, which will, as always, be at getpaidforyourpet.com/podcast. You'll find all the episodes there, and I'll put the link to Dave's Airbnb listing in the show notes, so you can go ahead and check that out. Awesome. Well, Dave, thank you so much. It's been a really interesting conversation, and thanks for your time.
Great talking to you, and I hope we talk real soon. And looking forward to more of your blog posts and other information you have. And let's definitely keep in touch.
Absolutely. And for everybody who wants to learn more about Airbnb hosting, as always, you can listen to our podcast every Monday and every Thursday. And you can also go out and check out our other resources at getpaidforyourpet.com. We have some awesome stuff out there with the audiobook that Dave mentioned earlier. It's 3.5 hours, so you're going on a long drive. It's perfect.
Great audiobook. Who narrated that book?
We hired somebody to narrate it.
Somebody. Yeah, the guy who speaks in the book is really good too. Easy to understand.
He's a professional speaker.
It's good. Good.
Yeah, so that's why we hired him. So it's good to know that you enjoyed that. And we also we also have our book on Amazon. If you want to take a sneak peek, you can get the first couple chapters on getpaidforyourpet.com. And there's also some blog posts and other awesome information. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Get paid for your pet. Get paid for your pet. Get paid for your pet.